So help you God.
The Constitution of the United States.
Debating that right now this year.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
So I think when a lot of people think of politics, they think of pundits or people coming in with lots of preordained opinions or preconceived notions about how things work, about which policies are best. The truth is, in order to study politics properly, you need to take the same sort of scientific method approach that you would to physics or botany or anything else, where, ideally you are coming in with a theory, a hypothesis, and you are sort of unmarried to how it might come out.
Cities and counties are probably the most critically important to their actual day-to-day life, but they focus on national news, national things that are happening at the national level, the president, the Congress, or even the governor and the legislature. But what we do at the local level can affect anything from their schools to how their trash is picked up.
My job is to work on legislation, either write bills or collaborate with colleagues on bills to address the issues that they care about, that voters care about, and either to address issues that need to be improved or seize opportunities that a growing state might need. And then to vote on these bills. And the interesting thing about this whole process is that while I represent one of the smallest geographical districts in the state of Idaho, right in the very heart of suburbia in West Boise, I have to vote on bills that affect every Idahoan in the state of Idaho, very rural agricultural areas as well.
The way a lot of people might look at elected officials, whether we're talking about student government, county government, state legislature, or, my area of study, which is Congress or the presidency, I think people tend to maybe appropriately ascribe kind of bad or corrupt motives all the time to what elected officials are doing, or sort of assuming they're always self-interested, and maybe that's the case, but there are ways we can actually observe the behavior of elected officials, observe the different kinds of political pressures that they are facing, what their individual beliefs are, and we can observe these in a way where we are considering all of them at once and then trying different tests to see which of these forces are most impactful in their decision-making process, right? So if you're a member of Congress, are you responding to the needs of your district, or are you responding to your own personal beliefs, or are you responding to pressure from the White House, the president? These are different things we can look at in an unbiased manner and try to determine whether or not, which of those forces is actually playing a major role.
And it's more than just casting votes, but making sure that the reason for why I cast a vote is rooted in a principle or a critical thinking that is consistent. It's really understanding your constituency, understanding the issues, and understanding the consequences of not the title of a bill, but what's actually in the bill. And I actually wind up voting against a lot of bills with really good sounding titles that aren't so good when you read past the title.
My approach is first to listen, and that's what I like to do first, is listen to somebody, no matter whether I have the inclination based on a knowledge of them personally or just not knowing. Listen to them first. One of my college professors said it this way. He said, "Words do not convey meaning, they call them forth." In other words, if I say democracy to you and you smile and nod your head, I'm assuming you understand democracy or a Republican form of government the way I do. You may not.
And what I wind up learning is that we actually agree on most issues, whether someone's Republican or Democrat, because most of the issues that affect people's daily lives are nonpartisan issues.
can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people... I'm not going to get my way when my people are being slaughtered.
Instead of crowding into this famous venue for some game or concert, thousands waited in line to vote.
But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
Empower people, not government, because the people are the source of power, which is totally different. It's upside down from what normal governments are.
Not everybody turns out to vote. The U.S. has, compared to our peer countries, fairly low voter turnout, and there are a lot of different theories and reasons why that might be. And so, if we look at that general model of, okay, members of Congress want to pay attention to their constituents, but they're not always hearing from all of their constituents. They tend to hear the most, people calling their offices or turning out to vote or showing up at their rallies, by people who tend to have more polarized political opinions, either people who really heavily agree with them already on issues, right? So, farther right, maybe Republicans in Idaho, in a red state like Idaho, responding to their members of Congress who tend to align more with them. And probably those members are also hearing from Democrats, say right now, who are really fired up about what's happening in Washington and the Trump administration and things like that, who are maybe farther to the left. And the folks who tend to be in the middle or who don't tend to participate in politics, their viewpoints, political science finds that their viewpoints are not as well represented, right? So members of Congress do a better job representing voters than non-voters.
Some people become frustrated with the system as I just described it, and they just check out of the system, so they don't participate anymore. The other extreme is they overly participate in doing things like very disruptive things, which is, again, totally counter to our systems functioning properly. The pitting disagreement, which is what our founders gave us, is part of our system, but it needs to be done in a logical and orderly way so that you respect people's disagreement rather than just shutting them down in a meeting room or making it so that they can't take any kind of action that's positive.
The bills that they wind up putting in front of us are more and more extreme and more exclusionary, and are basically ignoring the fact that there's a constituency greater than the people who voted for them in a May primary. I wind up voting against more bills. So in that regard, it hasn't affected me, other than has put me in a position of having to probably stand up more. As I see politics become more extreme, there's just that much more, I believe, of a responsibility to stand up to it. But you have to do it in a way that's respectful to the fact that objecting to things based on D's or R's, but based on the logic of it. And the key is to go to that much more of an effort to make sure that the conservative voters in my district understand why I vote the way I do.